And it's the final Hot Chaos Christmas here on the Just Plain Drive, and also the last time we get to speak to Bunny, who's out and about. And today, Bunny's in tears. Bunny?
Not at the moment, but yes, we are in Benmore. We are in Benmore Shopping Centre at the Tears Foundation headquarters, and I am sitting here with the extraordinary founder, Mara. Good afternoon. How are you?
Hello. Thank you for visiting us.
It's been a really extraordinary tour. We've had a little look at the office space and the area in which you pack your dignity packs and care packs. But before we get to all of that, take us through the origin of the Tears Foundation.
Thank you for asking that. I feel I was trained for this business my whole life. I'm a victim that became a survivor. And then when I started surviving, I started Tears. And I started at that time on my dining room table. It was 13 years ago. Everybody said I was totally crazy to even think of at 60 to open a charity, but I was actually purposeful. Nothing would stop me, and I wanted to offer the service that I didn't get when I went to the police station. So everything you've seen today has evolved from that.
Do you mind taking us through that experience on that day when you had to go to the police station and you realized this is just not good enough?
Well, I guess you could say that it was a life-changing event that changed my life, but has also resulted in the lives of many being changed. It was hideous, because once you've been abused, in my case I suffered from IPV and I was waterboarded and I nearly died. And when I went to the police station, it was almost like a second death. It was so bad, I never thought I'd recover. And so one of the striving ambitions of Tears is to give people that warm hug. We don't try to give them solutions unless their life's in danger. We try to get them onto the path. Because the sad part about being a survivor in the gender-based field is the fact that you have to do the work yourself.
So one of the things you mentioned about that life-changing experience and the birth of Tears was how victims can move from being a victim to a survivor, but also the first port of call. You didn't get the help you needed that day.
I didn't.
You were told to come back on Monday.
I haven't been back yet, and it's nearly 25 years.
But there's no way that can be. I mean, we're on the back end of the 16 days of activism against, gender-based violence against women and children, and institutions like this are so critical, the work that you do beyond the Dignity Pack. So walk us through some of the other things that Tears does for victims.
So one of the things that we are one of the first responders. So where they before could phone the GBV command center, they now have to find an NGO who operates in that field. It's a total disgrace. And so what we do is we call it containment. When a person's called, the very first thing is we make sure if they're in a life-threatening situation or not, because above all, we're interested in that person having their life. Sometimes we have to send Ubers to fetch them. Then we sit with the second problem. Second problem is there are only 28 shelters operating in Gauteng, and they're all limited. So when you have a person that needs a place to stay, there is not always a facility that can take her. So right now, as we sit here, every facility in Gauteng is full. So it's a total disgrace. So what we do is we try to help people take the first step to recovery. Because the first step that I mentioned earlier is that you have to decide you're going to survive this terrible thing that's happened to you, and you are going to be okay. And what I have discovered from many of the victims who've become survivors, that of course, you're never the same. You can't put a broken cup back together. But most often, you are more beautiful and more able to do things than you were before, because you've determined to live your life. You realize what you've been at. You make a difference. So our first call is to help people to put their foot on that journey.
And Mara, just Talking us through those first steps that you walk with survivors. I mean, those are just the first steps of a very long journey that lies ahead. And we all know here in South Africa, sadly, all women know another woman who has been sexually violated. Police dockets go missing all the time, and the Tears Foundation actually assists in following up on police cases and trying to get justice for survivors. Isn't that right?
We absolutely do that. So if we remember that we don't know how many people are raped and don't report it, so we estimate or guesstimate that 1 in 9 cases are reported, and then when you get to the end of the line, probably 4 or 5 of those will get a conviction. So I think you've always got to be cognizant of the fact is that this is about life. It's not about getting even. I know that sounds like a strange thing, but if you live a wonderful life after having a life-threatening situation, an invasive situation where you will never be the same ever again, you would have to put yourself together differently. Revenge is not always what you need. And so I think one has to look at a holistic view. Is that person safe? Are they in a place where they can grow? If they've got children, are the children able to resume their school lives? Because if you lose your whole system, your school, your friends, your whatever. So for me, it's about surviving in the real sense of the word, because we have to know government's failing us. And we can either cry over the things that have happened or get up and make a difference. And that's totally what I believe we should do.
One of the first things that you guys do when you encounter a survivor is you provide them with those crucial comfort packs. And I think when most of our listeners think of dignity and comfort packs, they just think of a pair of underwear, a toothbrush, and a deodorant. And it goes so much further than that. Can you just take us through what's in these comfort packs and why they provide a sliver of dignity in what could be somebody's worst hour?
Well, we do provide the comfort packs in different categories. So the first thing in that comfort bag is something for them to drink, something for them to eat, and then the other thing that's very important to us is the fact that they need a notebook. Now that sounds like a strange concoction in a bag, but that is because as a victim, you are absolutely shocked out of your head. You lose touch with reality. You forget your phone number. You do all those things. And as you sit there, you start to remember things. The trauma is so great that the recovery means grasping life again. So we feel that once you've had something to eat and you're sitting waiting for the tests, if you have a thing to write down. All the other items are things like a t-shirt, because for DNA purposes, they take all your clothes away. And so there you are, you've already been violated, and now you're naked. I mean, it really is a very hard journey. And so on the journey, everything in that bag we hope will help them get better. It might be a deodorant, a toothbrush, but it is not that. It is much, much more. It is actually a sign to them in that terrible place when they're sitting there waiting for help to say you're not alone, there's someone who cares.
And just to be clear, these packs are also for men. You make separate packs that are designed to look after a man who's been violated as well.
We do indeed, because a man has the same needs as a woman, as I've mentioned.
Mara, just one question I want to ask you before we go back to Tara and why we're doing this today. It's always been kind of a sort of a part and aspect of this that a lot of people don't come forward out of fear. A lot of people are involved in these situations and just don't speak up and don't come forward. Do you find over your years of working in this, with Tears and what you've been doing, that more people are coming forward because of organizations like yourself, as opposed to maybe feeling they're not going to get the assistance from people like the police? Or is that still a problem?
Well, I think the Me Too movement worldwide made a difference where you could talk about the things that were so difficult, but it most certainly has not dealt with the problem. People don't come forward. After I was at the police station, I didn't go back. So if you consider that my experience, whilst it has different words, is just as bad whether you are in Soweto or Sandton. And it is extremely difficult because you carry with yourself the shame. It took me many years before I could even speak out. And the interesting thing was, as I started to speak out, I wasn't worried about myself. I was worried about my family, my partner, how it would affect them. It's just the most amazing thing that in our abuse, we embrace other people. So the answer to your question is quite simply, people don't want to speak out because we don't want advice. And what I mean by that, I mean, if you say my husband's hit me, someone will say, well, girl, it's about time you leave. But meanwhile, they should be saying, I'm sorry to hear that, girl. I've got a flat you can stay in, or tell me when you come, I'll help you pack up and we'll move out. So the problem is rape victims and intimate partner violence victims are given advice, not real help, and it's hard to leave. The international statistic is it takes 8 times to leave.
Wow.
And Mara, I imagine heading into the festive season, December and January is quite a dangerous period for people who will essentially be locked in with their abusers, no escape by going to work, no escape by going to college. It must be quite a busy time for Tears heading into the festive.
You've actually got it 100% right. All those things are factors, and then one has to factor in other things like alcohol, drugs. The thing is that when you have a very small confined area that you're all living in, you get on one another's nerves. And so it's very, very difficult because actually society is failing victims of rape and abuse.
And Mara, the services offered by Tears, that's free of charge.
Absolutely, because first of all, I'm representative of the population of our country, and not everybody has money on their phone. So I was absolutely determined when I did start Tears that every service that we offered would be free to the user.
Mara, I mean, we're absolutely amazed by the work that you guys do, and we're sorry there's such a huge demand for it, especially over the festive season. I think every Hot 1027 listener probably knows somebody who's been a victim of GBV or possibly could be in the future. So for Hot Cares Christmas, through the kindness of Hot 1027 listeners, we would like to support the Tears Foundation by contributing 60,000 Rand towards those comfort packs that you'll be needing over the festive season.
I'm actually speechless, and I'm not often speechless. What a wonderful, wonderful gesture. Thank you, listeners. We're celebrating. They taught me in my office that this is how we celebrate.
But Mara, that's not all. You know, we sent Bunny there to interview you and find out a bit more, but she's also done a little bit of a recce of your office. And I think, Bunny, you might have some good news for Mara as well.
So, Mara, you described how the space that you've been given is free of cost, but obviously you had to bear the burden of furnishing it, and it's quite a large space, and you went to great lengths to be able to finish the furnishing. But I see 1 or 2 places that could still have a little bit of attention, and perhaps even that walk-in center, walk-in room, so that people can be serviced here at your headquarters. So we'd like to add a little extra money for the soft touches to turn it less into a corporate space that it is right now, and more into the warm hug that you've described, to the value of 20,000.
You know, this is just the most amazing, wonderful Christmas end of the year period. We've just gone through 16 days. And my New Year's wish is that this happens to all the other foundations who help with GBV, because we need your support. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I really value that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us today, Mara, and keep up the good work that you are doing there. Bunny, thank you very much as well. It's been great chatting to you over the last couple of weeks as we've tried to raise smiles and turn people's Christmases around. And just one last moment, if we can, just give us that number again, Mara, that you gave us a little earlier on.
Sure, it's *134* 7355#.
Hot Cares Christmas. Let's make a meaningful difference together.